when former Russian spy Alexander Litvinenko died in London in 2006 from radioactive poisoning, it shocked the world that such an attack could happen on British soil. Since then, Russia has been found responsible for his death. Well, with me now is Alexander's widow, Marina Litvinenko, who is in exile living here in London. Marina, thanks so much for joining us tonight on my first show. I really appreciate it. Now, let's kick off with your recent holiday. You were in Ukraine, as I understand it, just in the run-up to the invasion. I think you left just after the invasion. You were with your friends. What was the atmosphere like, and how are your friends?
And first of all, very good evening. And shall I start with a very special words, glory to Ukraine, Slava Ukraini. This is very important to all Ukrainians to hear it and to all people who support Ukraine now. When I went to Ukraine, I know it's a very tense situation in a board from side of Russia was very much unexplained and unexpected, and everybody discussed would be this war or not. But I decided to go 16th of February because I thought it's a good time to have a nice time in the very west of Ukraine, what is a very peaceful, very beautiful area. And I didn't think I would be in Ukraine and I received this news, war has started. And at the same moment, all this small town was mobilized. It was not panic, it was not hysteria. Everybody tried to receive news from their relatives in the east of part in Ukraine, from Kyiv, from Kharkiv. It was shocking news. And this small town expected these all refugees immediately and started to think how they could accommodate them, how they could bring them to the port if they decide to travel to Poland or to another country.
So they started to wonder, how could they help refugees? Did they start arming themselves? Did they...
This was all just, I would say people were ready for something worse, but of course they didn't want it, but they've been ready for this because this was a lot of organizing of self-defense organization when all men were ready to go to this. People went to special station to give their blood. Even I went to do this.
So you gave blood? So everyone went to build up the blood supplies for the army?
Yes, and this was so many people. It looks like this whole town was ready to give their all blood to these soldiers, to casualties, to anybody.
Did Putin miscalculate the Ukrainian people's spirit?
100%. I think 2014 gave them to Putin and to his alliance just this is wrong message. Ukrainian people soft, they're not going to fight, and like in Crimea, just will say welcome and would be happy to be part of Russia, but it was wrong.
And how are your friends now?
It's still quite serious, but this part is okay.
It's in the west, so they're
very
not
west,
and I think the areas of conflict yet.
Yes, it's even not Lviv. This is more close to Slovakia border, to Poland, to Hungary. But people in Kyiv in a very serious situation. I have a very good friend of mine, a member of Ukrainian Rada, and she's a woman and a young, very promising politician. She's fighting with Kalashnikov.
Okay. And Marina, let's talk about your late husband, Alexander, Sasha, as you knew him or spoke of him. I think we've got a wedding photo, actually, of you. There you are. Can you see it there, Marina? It's on the screen.
Yes.
Isn't that a lovely... That's gorgeous, huh? I just want to ask you about a letter that Sasha wrote, an open letter to Putin 2 days before he died. You'll know this off your heart. He said, "You may succeed in silencing one man, but the howl of protest from around the world, Mr. Putin, will reverberate in your ears for the rest of your life." When did Sasha realise that Putin was bad for Russia?
From very beginning. And when he stand up in 1998 against of all this corruption and security service, it was his first fight against Vladimir Putin because he was put to prison and spent almost 1 year. And then when he escaped, he published a book, Blowing Up Russia, about apartment bombing, when he openly accused of security service to do this crime against Russian people, because they want to show Putin is a strong man and he will defend all ordinary Russian people, what was not true. And his second book was just explained everything what happened in FSB, successor of KGB. And was all what he tried to prevent.
And Marina, you obviously have friends in Russia still that you talk to. Do you think that Russian people understand what's going on, or do you think that because of the media restrictions that they don't really know what's happening in Ukraine from your experience of talking to people?
It is not even restrictions, it's completely brainwashed. Yeah. And some people just afraid to think about truth. They maybe understood something very bad happening in Ukraine, but they're afraid to talk about this.
What, because they can't believe that this is really happening, they're afraid of the truth? Because
you need to accept you live in a country who's aggressor. And this is very difficult. And sometimes they started to defend Putin, defend all these actions.
Marina, do you think that the Russian people might eventually overthrow Putin, or is it so repressive there that it's not possible?
We don't know. Soviet Union collapsed in 1991 when nobody believed it, because it was the strongest country in opposition to all other world. And now, yes, it's a different one, but I don't think it's as strong as it was Soviet Union. Yes, they try to control everybody, every individual, but we still have people outside in the street with this all protest.
And Marina, can I just ask you as well, you've lived in Britain, your adopted country, since 2000, so over 2 decades now. Are you happy with the way that Britain has responded to the crisis?
Now, of course, it's much better than it did happen before. And we every time cry for this, you have to do something. Now it's a huge international support, and it's this united country in European Union, United Kingdom, America, and other countries. What is very important for Putin, it was always very important to make these all countries to work separately.
To divide everyone.
Exactly.
And so now he will be confounded or confused by the fact that the West is united. He might not have anticipated
It's another surprise for him.
Do you think that we're taking enough refugees?
I don't think so.
Right.
And we know this picture from Calais in Paris when people need to go back to apply for visa.
Yeah.
It's a shame, because I saw these people spend hours and hours to get through Ukrainian border and then go to see maybe their relatives here in UK. And I would like to say, these people don't want to get out from Ukraine. They pushed from Ukraine.
Yes.
And they're not looking for better life. They definitely come back when it would be all finished.
So you would like our Prime Minister to follow the European Union and introduce visa waivers for the people of Ukraine?
Absolutely, because you will save these people and they will all time grateful for this.
And just finally, do you think that politicians here made a mistake in welcoming Russian oligarchs so warmly to the UK in the past?
Of course, we need to learn all mistakes of what we did. And of course, politicians play this, I would say, ruthless, because it should be checked, and money and people who've been accepted here. And now we should talk about not a past, we should talk about present and about future, not to make more mistakes.